You know, Uncle Doug,
I am here.
they say there was a secret chord
Who's they?
that David played, and it pleased the Lord. I'm feeling I'm very musical today for some reason.
No.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
time.
What
Yeah.
is that from? Is that from something?
It's from the song.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
What song is
Alleluia. And that's all I know about that story.
All right. Moving on.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
The limitations of Mark's musical knowledge.
Well, we listen, guys. We've covered a lot of David's story in the Bible. We've talked about his secret, cute love affair back when he was a chord playing
He was a twink.
lute boy.
Yeah.
and had that lovely affair with Jonathan. But we haven't covered everything in his story.
We did cover the sexy dance in front of the ark.
we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Which is one
yeah.
of the weirdest stories in the Bible as far as I'm
Oh my
concerned.
God, everything's a weird story in the Bible.
True.
So yes, Uncle Doug keeps trying to tell us about the New Testament, but I say that's premature. How can the New Testament make any sense when we don't have a solid understanding of the foundation upon which that text is built?
The New Testament, it's what's new.
Yes, and what a shitty, marshy stinkhole of a foundation it is. So,
Indeed.
you know, one wonders, actually, if Jesus wasn't God's first attempt at starting a Messianic New Testament. All the other gods said it was daft to build a New Testament in a swamp, but he built one all the same. It sank into the swamp. So he built a second one. That sank into the swamp. He built a third one. That one burned down, fell over, and then sank into the swamp. But the fourth Messiah stood. Anyway, I want to go back to 2 Samuel. That's 2 Samuel for any MAGA listeners.
2 Samuel.
It's the whole ball game.
Yeah, exactly. When we last left 2 Samuel in episode 40, Uncle Doug had taken us through the story of one of the Bible's few genuinely good guys, Uriah the Hittite, who was then married to Bathsheba.
And what did he get for being a good guy?
Oh, yeah. It didn't go well.
Yeah.
As a quick reminder, Uriah was a soldier in King David's army. You won't find a more loyal soldier in all the land, but David happened to see Uriah's wife Bathsheba's boobs one time, and so he had Uriah killed so that he could keep her for himself. So,
Because he's the good guy.
yeah, exactly. Sucks to be Uriah. Anyway, now, to its credit, I gotta say, this is one of the rare instances where the Bible actually explicitly says that something horrible that one of its main characters has done was, in fact, bad. Shocking though it may be, in the chapter after that whole mess happened, Nathan, a prophet of the Lord, comes to David and actually tells him that what he did was wrong. Now, considering this book's track record on condemning bad things, I'm genuinely impressed by that.
Yeah.
Mind you, he doesn't come right out and say it, so you don't last long as a prophet if you make a habit of telling kings they're shitbags.
No.
So he tells the most pathetic story about a rich man and a poor man who lived in a town. The rich man had lots of sheep and cows. The poor man had nothing but a single baby sheep to his name. He loved that sheep so much. He fed that sheep from his own bowl, and they drank from the same cup. He even spooned with the sheep to get to sleep.
Okay.
I mean, it stopped short there, so good. Then one day, a traveler comes to the
That's
rich
probably
man.
a popular story in Wyoming, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does well,
I didn't do it.
right? I didn't either, but somebody's got to spike that set. Anyway, the rich man doesn't want to feed the traveler from his own flock, so he takes the poor man's sheep and kills it and feeds it to the traveler, which is a dick move. Now, this is a bit of a clumsy metaphor for what David did to Uriah, but because the Bible is terrible at time, we have to remember that this was a while after all that stuff happened. By now, David had married Bathsheba, and she had already borne him a son whose name, mysteriously, was not given. So, when David hears Nathan's story about the theft of the beloved sheep, he gets furious. That rich guy's a dick. He should be put to death. At which point Nathan says, dude, it's you. You did that, remember? But instead of killing the sheep, you killed the poor guy and fucked the sheep. Crap, that didn't sound right. I mean, that you had the poor guy killed for you by hanging him out to dry on the field of battle, and then you took the sheep and married it. Anyway, the Lord's pissed is the answer. So, boom, chalk one up for the Bible. It actually got amoral correct.
I love that moment where David
Had to be a rounding error.
Exactly. I love the moment where David's like, so what you're saying is what I did was wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
To which he responded, yes. Don't worry, though, that won't become a trend. The Bible will not continue to get things correct. And what is God's punishment for all of this? You guessed it. Unnamed son takes ill and dies, which is sad. But considering the fact that David had no fewer than 10 wives, in fact, he probably had way more than that, most of whom bore him plenty of kids, one kid down was kind of a drop in the bucket, really.
Yeah.
And was as was evidenced by the fact that David begged God not to take his son, and fasted and prayed and tore his clothes and wept and wailed. But then, when he was told that the kid died, he just stood up and went to dinner. When his servants asked about that, he literally said this. This is a quote. While the child was alive, I fasted and wept, and I thought, who knows, maybe the Lord may be gracious to me and let the child live. But now that he's dead, why should I go on fasting? Can I bring him back? Will you pass the pepper? Thanks.
Well,
So,
he's got a point.
If you consider that in Bible time, a baby was more likely to die than live,
right.
why even include the story?
Why even include the story should be the motto of the book.
Yes.
That is, I am going to continue telling a whole bunch of why even include the story.
I love it.
So David was one offspring down, but he definitely had plenty. He had planted plenty of seeds, so he was not wanting for progeny. So let's talk about the other children of David. But we won't go into his most famous child, wise King Solomon, since we covered his best business, read most horrifying and idiotic, back in episode 43. Instead, we'll go to the next chapter of 2 Samuel, lucky chapter 13. But before we do, can I just take a minute to say that the Bible is just a shitty book?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not talking about the amorality of it and the fact that the main character, God, is a bundle of contradictions that make it all absurd on its face. Look, so many people have told me that even if I don't believe that it's true, the Bible is still great literature. Fuck
you.
that.
Yeah, it is so garbage.
How can you call a book great literature when it spends page after page on mind-numbing lists of who begat whom and chapter after chapter on whether you can or can't eat weasels, but then when it comes time to tell an actual story, it breaks every rule of decent storytelling.
Yeah.
No backstory, no setup at all, no world building whatsoever. Just launch in with bare facts and string those facts together with the thinnest of threads.
Yeah.
Or hell, why does a story have to make any sense at all? Just say a thing happened, give us no reason why you told us, and move on to the next inexplicable nonsense.
Yeah, with the details of maybe a police report. Like,
Exactly.
so sparse, yeah.
Sorry, just needed to rant. That was
Have
apropos.
at
It was apropos of absolutely nothing. Anyway, David's son Amnon fell in love with his sister.
Surprise.
Yeah. Well, which is exactly how chapter 13 launches. It just is like, hey, this happened. Well,
so did Adam, if you think about it.
right?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, that was his clone. Adam fell in love with his trans clone.
That's right.
Anyway, so this was his half sister. They had different moms, but were both were David's kids. So Tamar, the object of Ammon's lust, was the whole sister of Absalom. Absalom was the third son of King David by Maacah, who was David's maybe fifth-ish wife, hard to tell. Anyway, he certainly wasn't anybody special in the lineup, except maybe that he was hot. Like, super sexy. Great hair. We'll get to it. Anyway, Amnon became obsessed with Tamar, and his lust was so crazed that he literally made himself sick. But, they were half siblings, so he couldn't really have her. Apparently, there were some rules back then about what a woman, what woman a son of a king can have. Go figure. So, Amnon went to his advisor, Jonadab, who is described as, quote, a very shrewd man. So, good. He brought in a smart guy to help out. And Jonadab didn't disappoint. He devised a brilliant plot. He told Amnon to pretend to be ill, and when his dad comes to see him, request that Tamar come in and bake him some bread. There in the room where he could see her. And nobody would think that's weird because, as we all know, there's no better medicine than watching someone bake.
Yeah,
and then Amnon could
absolutely
request that she feed him the bread. So, that's it. That was the big plan. It's entirely unclear what this was supposed to accomplish.
The timeless art of seduction.
Right. Exactly. It's I'm frequently mystified by the rules of the ancient Middle East, so I kept waiting for the moment when Jonadab would say, and then once you've seen her make bread, she may be eligible for you to marry based on the law of wheat. Or then when she is tended to you, you may claim nurse's privilege and marry her or something. But no, the whole plan that was deemed important enough to put in the fucking Bible seems to have been a ruse just to be in the same room with her for a while.
Well, don't kink shame. I mean, I'm sure there's a Pornhub channel for baking.
I'm just saying.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Who
there's
doesn't
cake
want
farts. Of course there's one for you.
Anyway, all I'm saying is that middle school boys have more foresight than that when they're cooking up schemes, and they're idiots. I know I was one. Oh, literature. Anyway, the plan goes off without a hitch. He fakes sick and gets to watch her bake. Amazing. But maybe there was one little hitch. Oddly, waiting for bread didn't turn out to be the very satisfying outcome for Amnon. Who could have predicted that? So he did what any Bible character would do in that situation. Anybody raped his sister.
Oh boy.
Yep. And then when that was done, he suddenly hated her. So great. Here's the actual
Weird,
verse.
because that's so often how young love kind of flourishes.
Yeah,
seriously, baby, I've got a meeting.
Yeah.
You'd think that would have worked.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's the actual verse. Quote, then Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her.
Literature, you're right.
Yeah, the poetry.
And the moral, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And then he and Amnon said unto her, arise, be gone. Now, you might think that arising and being gone would be exactly what a woman who had just been raped by her brother would want to do, but no. Those wacky ancient Middle Eastern rules kicked in, and when you're a woman in the Middle East, ancient or otherwise, there's a really good chance those rules won't work out well for you. Not that I actually understand what the rules were. All I know is that when Amnon told Tamar to leave, she begged him not to kick her out, saying, quote, sending me away would be a greater wrong than what you have already done to me. So, okay.
No.
But Amnon summoned a servant and
What,
had
because
her
it's
thrown
rude?
out.
Like, that's just rude.
That is, look, you're being a bad host. It's one thing to rape a person, but to be a bad host.
And the bread's still in the oven.
Yeah, exactly.
You said I could watch TV.
So yeah, he had her thrown out, having suffered both of those disgraces, first rape and then the much worse thing of being forced to leave the room where her rapist was. She tore her ornate princess dress and smeared ash on her face and put her hands on her head and went away weeping loudly. Her brother, her other brother, her whole brother, Absalom, comforted her by saying, quote, be quiet for now, my sister. He is your brother. Don't take this thing to heart. Lesson from the Bible: when comforting a rape victim, tell them not to worry about it.
Boy, men have always been shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are not good.
No.
So
we
there
have,
you go.
We have proof.
Just chill. Jeez. But Absalom did take her in and let her live with him, a, quote, desolate woman.
You know,
Jesus.
I would not be moving in with any more of my brothers at this point. And
You'd
I'm not.
think.
Listen, I'm not falling for that baking bread thing again. Asshole.
Hey, will you bake? No, I won't. I am now not a baker.
Yeah, I'm a sous chef now. I've learned my lesson.
So their dad, David, got real mad when he heard about it. So there's that. I mean, nothing actually happened, but ooh. And Absalom totally gave Ammon the silent treatment. So there you go. 2 years later, though, Absalom, he was playing the long game. He brought in some shearers and had a huge sheep shearing party and invited all of his brothers. I mean,
What fun.
This was going to be the biggest shearing party of the year.
Yeah.
He wanted Dad to come, but Dad said no. But all the brothers came because that shearing was going to be lit. Then Absalom had his men kill Amnon, which was, surprise!
Twist.
But turned out to be a huge bummer for the party. And the DJ wasn't all that great, so all the other brothers had their valet bring their mules around and hightailed it out of there. King David first got the news about what happened from Breitbart, which apparently reported that QAnon had said that Absalom had killed all of his sons. So he was pretty upset about that. But then Facebook linked to a fact check about it from a better news source, so he calmed down a little bit. But he was still pretty upset.
For sure.
So Absalom jumped on his mighty mule and fled to Talmai and chilled for a few years until his dad wasn't mad at him anymore, and then came back to Jerusalem.
Yeah, eventually you get over murder.
Yeah, I mean, he gets it. There was
Yeah.
that whole, dishonoring his sister sort of thing. So
Yeah.
It all plays out as it must. But things weren't likely to be as they once were. Absalom came back, but he started rabble-rousing. People would complain that David wasn't hearing their disputes like a good judge of Israel should, and Absalom was fanning the flames of discontent. He was all, "My dad won't listen to you, so you can't get justice. Too bad I'm not the guy. I'd totally listen to you." He did this a lot, and eventually he had a bunch of supporters. So many, in fact, that he declared himself the king. He went to Hebron, which was the former capital, and he started a revolt against his dad. He even slept with his dad's concubines, which is good
This
to be the
family.
king.
This family.
Right?
Yeah, and then and the people loved him, like most of the people. You got to remember, this is the sexy guy with the long hair. He was basically the Middle Eastern Jason Momoa. So,
But by the way, though, when you said he slept with the concubines, what was it consensual?
does it matter?
Not in the Bible.
At that time, is consent a thing?
Not
Yeah.
in the Bible.
Not in the Bible.
That consent is like for men.
Yeah.
Women don't get that.
Okay, lady, I consent. Let's do this. Oh, but I didn't. Yeah. Think about
not-
the bread.
That's not for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, handsome devil that he is, it worked, and he drove his dad into hiding with what few troops had stuck by him, and Absalom became king. But
Oh, wow.
David had spies in Absalom's court, and they gave him bad advice, which gave David time to prep his forces. The final battle was approaching. Absalom and his army met David's army at the wood of Ephraim. This proved to be a disastrous place to have a final showdown. The armies readied themselves, the war horns were blown, and Absalom, astride his mighty steed mule, charged into battle, his glorious hair triumphantly flowing behind him in sexy slow motion. Unfortunately, those lovely locks of his got tangled in a tree, and his mule went running out from under him, leaving him dangling there by his hair.
Oh, it's such a Buster Keaton moment, isn't it?
It really is.
I'm sorry, if your mule runs out from underneath you and you just put your feet down, right?
No, not in this case. Apparently, he was not tall enough for that.
He had unusually short legs.
And was just dangling there. So he kind of just hung there for a while until one of David's men found him. And that guy went and told one of the captains in David's army, and they all went and kind of just looked at him for a minute until they figured out what to do about it.
Kill his ass.
Stupid story.
Well, David had said not to kill Absalom, but Absalom had been a dick to that captain, so after he watched him struggle with that tree for a while, he stabbed him to death with 3 spears to the heart.
Oh,
That'll do it.
After that, everything just kind of went back to the way it had been before all this mess, and David was king again. A satisfying ending to a gripping story.
Again, why?
yeah. Well, that was a fairly pointless
What
exercise.
knowledge does it impute? Like, what moral does it tell?
Well, there's that whole thing about riding under a tree when you've got long hair. So that's
I don't know if you guys had this when you were young in shop class. They'd show you those films about making sure you tuck your tie in, because we all wear ties, of course. Tuck your tie in before you operate the giant industrial metal lathe.
Yeah.
and for, ladies in shop class to pull their hair back. So I guess they didn't have those films.
Pull their hair back and gather up their skirts.
They had their petticoats, lace up their corset.
They hadn't learned these lessons yet.
I do love the idea of him riding into battle on his donkey. You know, like his feet 2 inches above the ground.
It was a mule, not a donkey. They're big.
Just with that little truck.
Ow! Ow, my hair! Wait, come back! Stop! Ow!
little donkey.
God damn it. Well, now I'm just... Hang on, I think I can get free. I'll just move this over here. Oh, that's worse. Oh, God.
Maybe it's a lesson in the dangers of male vanity.
Yeah.
Right.
See?
You should
Every long-haired guy we've talked about so far, his hair has been his downfall.
Yeah, and
you
so,
should have a crew cut like a red-blooded American boy.
God damn, you're right. That's how it should be.
Not for nothing, but who's the good guy in this story? Right? Like
the mule.
The guy who raped his sister gets killed, and the guy who kills him gets killed, and David, who killed Uriah and raped Bathsheba, is king again.
Yeah.
Back on top.
Everything works out in the end.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story.
No wonder he's so revered, He's such a
and
godly
really,
man.
guys, it's not about like the let's not bicker and argue about who killed who. It's mostly just about the poetry.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we really need to focus on.
And then it gives way to prose, and then it gives way to a strange list, and that's what I love about it. So, all right, well, let's pull the eject on this bullshit.
Bye, Absalom.
Bye.